Good morning, and thank you very much for talking to me on this. First of all, congratulations and making all Ghanaians proud. We understand that you recently attained an enviable feat. You've been awarded a PhD in the field of sports cardiology. How was it, and how did this whole journey start? We already know you've been in the system for such a long time, but how was this new field, and how did it start?
Thank you very much, Obama. I think when you say I've been in the field for such a long time, it makes me feel so old. But of course, we've been around for some time. Yeah, so of course, the decision to go and do even sports medicine, I mean, that's where I started from after medical school and then doing the basics you have to do as a doctor in Ghana. Decided to leave country, do sports medicine. I mean, it was even out of the norm, to go do sports medicine. Came back, there was literally no practice of sports medicine in Ghana, although we had one or two people who had gone to do it. So we came to help the system. I mean, and because of the relationship we had with FIFA before coming, we got the opportunity to work with the FA, to work with CAF. So we helped not just the country Ghana, but the continent as well. So being in that space, and in our practice, in medical practice, if you stay within a practice for 4 or 5 years and you do not seek to add to what you want to do, you become very stagnant. So I then realized that one of the key issues had to do with sudden cardiac death, where players were just dropping dead on the field. And this was particularly more frequent, or the incidence was higher among black African players. So I decided that we would do a study to assess the cardiovascular adaptation of black players or black sportsmen and women to physical activity. So, and then the issue of pre-competition medical assessment. So we were not doing it really. So all our players were doing to jump on the field and start playing. But we know when you subject somebody to physical activity or exercises, the heart would have to adapt to be able to push the person. So the key thing was the heart enlarging in size. So the left side of the heart, okay, which is, I call it the left ventricle, okay, it has to put on muscle. It's like somebody going to the gym. The more work you do, you put on muscle. So because players or sportsmen have to exert a lot more, the heart tends to enlarge. So I particularly decided to study that effect, okay, and I realized that our adaptation, or the adaptation of the black heart, is very different from how the white heart adapts to sports, okay. And because we were not picking up the differences, it was contributing to the sudden deaths, because the disease, a particular disease that will cause most of these sudden deaths, it's called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and this disease has this kind of semblance to the normal adaptation. So you needed to get to a point where in the black athlete or in the black player, you should be able to tell whether this is a diseased heart or this is normal adaptation. So that was the crux of the work, and ultimately to come up with a race-sensitive interpretation career. I'm sure along the line you ask the benefit of it, but this is what triggered the whole study, and it was, purely Ghana-based study. I did it in Germany with the University of Saarland, partly funded by FIFA, partly funded by the Get Fund in Ghana as well. I'm mentioning this to let people know that the Ministry of Youth and Sport, the Ghana Football Association, FIFA, Get Fund, everybody contributed to it because it was quite an expensive study.
This is something massive. I was asking, I'm sure FIFA, CAF, and even the GFL, but to start with FIFA, would have been looking forward to somebody doing this, because for the administrators, this will be something that's very complex to explain or write down. So what was the response in trying to convince them to even go to the extent of
the study? I wouldn't make up a story. To be honest, I didn't have to convince them. I mean, FIFA as at the time was equally worried and needed a solution to that. Okay, the medical part of FIFA knew that it will only take research work to find a solution. All they needed was somebody who was prepared to go through that journey. They knew it wasn't going to be an easy journey. So when I contacted FIFA to do a different study. To be honest, I was going to do effect of exercises on knee pain, that sort of thing, osteoarthritis, and then because it was going to be centered on ex-footballers. If you know our ex-footballers, every one of them has a knee pain. Okay, and it's all massive osteoarthritis. So the plan was to come up with a study to find solutions to their problems. All right, so when I spoke to FIFA, they said, okay, that's a good one, but have you considered this other study? Can you do it? I said, yes, I can. Then they said, okay, then speak to University of Saarland, because they had a FIFA Medical Center of Excellence there. All right, then I spoke to them. I went through interview. They said, okay, we can sponsor aspect of this study. Okay, it wasn't going to be 100%, so I needed home support as well, because I think I didn't go to live in Germany, but I had to travel to Germany about 4 times every year during that time. Okay, so the Ghana Education Trust Fund had to come in. How did I get fund? The Ministry of Youth and Sport had to write and support the study and get fund to support, and that was how come I got support from both sides.
It looks simple in the explanation, but this is really something that's complicated, especially for ordinary people. I would want to ask, what is the percentage, if you remember, is the percentage of deaths in blacks as compared to maybe whites? Is it marginal or very significant to have instigated this thing?
Okay, so the percentage of sudden deaths, it's not huge. Okay, if you compare whites to blacks, then the difference is huge. Now, in the scientific world, when it comes to incidence of death, we don't say something is low, because we believe the death of one person, especially from a preventable cause, you can't put a percentage to it and say if it is 1 out of a million, then it is low. But then we realize that these are people in quotes who are not supposed to be dying. I mean, you can imagine a 23-year-old, okay, playing football. Prior to the match, there was no complaint, and then right in the field, the person drops and dies. Okay, so these are very painful deaths, and the sponsors of such study felt that even if it is 1 out of a million, and such a research can help to reduce it further, then it was worth that support. And so far, we've published papers out of this study already, and it's actually, influenced decisions at a very high levels. We've had black players who signed with European clubs, and my white colleagues would do their ECGs and echoes and would say this is very abnormal because it doesn't look like what they see among whites. So those who have access to me will compare, and I'll show them data from my study to show that the thickness of a black player can go as far as 15, I'm just using this word, can go as far as 15 millimeters. But that of a white player cannot go beyond 13. Okay, so they have a sharp cutoff at max 13, and we can go up to 15, 16. So between 13 and 15, 16 becomes a gray area, okay, and that is where this study comes in. And then I have to say that this player, I'll sign for him to be able to play, supported by my data, and this is what the study is doing. But it wasn't an easy journey. Probably I started like 2014. Exactly.
The duration of this started in
2014.
If you remember the sample of players,
right.
If you remember the estimate on the number, how many players it would take?
So in all, I screened around 300 players, yes. In all, I screened around 300 players, all Ghanaian players, ECGs and echoes, boys and girls, or men and women, males and females. So basically almost all the national teams, so between 2014 till 2018, almost all the national teams who participated in any FIFA or CAF tournament, we had the opportunity to screen them. So our girls under 17, under 20, the Black Queens, the boys under 17, under 20, the Black Star, we were able to get data from them. We screened all of them. And then some of the premier clubs, the one I remember clearly was Wafa, because I had to drive all the way to Sugakope to do ECGs and echoes for them, and then I think some Division 1 clubs as well. So it was heavily a football-based study, and the football fraternity gave full support to that, because you needed to do ECGs and echoes for all these people. Sit down, of course, with support from my other colleague doctors in Kolebu, who are cardiologists. So we have cardiologists and we have sports cardiologists. Okay, so in wanting to venture into the area of sports cardiology, you needed the already existing cardiologist to help with the interpretations with those who were already sports cardiologists, like my supervisor in Germany. I mean, just to put context to it, one of my supervisors happened to be the medical chief for UEFA. So he's the head of UEFA Medical Committee, my first supervisor. My other supervisor happened to be the doctor for the German under-21 team. And one of them, actually, World Cup, is it Brazil 2014? I was with the Black Star, we traveled together. So my supervisor was the team doctor for the German team, and I was also sitting with Black Star rendering support medical services. It was quite interesting, and that was where it all started, and of course I think they scored as we played them. Yes. So with research work, in fact, year 1 into the study were already implemented. Okay, so the moment we did the first sampling and then screened the first batch of people, we knew the trend. Okay, so one Division 1 club, as at the time, now they are in the Premier Accra Lions. I'll just mention their names. I mean, if you have administrators who understand the dynamics, so one of their owners or their bosses at some point contacted, because he had seen one of my scripts. Okay, and I think he ships players around to, so once they do something, he wants to get my input. Okay, so that is how academia and industry works. Okay, so it's the duty of industry to know. Normally, industry is more aggressive than academia. Okay, so ours is to do, and fortunately, I bridge. Okay, I'm in industry and I'm in academia. Okay, so I've done the research, it's out there. Your platform is giving the whole world access, okay, to know that such a study has been done. Okay, so if a club or a national team screens their players, okay, any doctor can do screening, all right, but when it comes to the interpretation, then you need people who have done what we call the subspecialization to be able to, and I mean, normally when you screen, probably 90% of them, you wouldn't have any doubt. But there will be the tricky appearances with some 10%. And that's where you need big expertise to tell you X, Y, Z. And I mean, such knowledge, we just put it out there for people to know. And that's why we publish the papers. So other colleagues don't need to do the study. You just go get the papers, you read, and then that's it. So that's how we influence decision making within the industry.
I'm sure that going into this study, you probably know the number of people who are already in this field. How many sports cardiologists are there in the system? We're talking about global, because it's really a very tough field.
So in Ghana, we don't. We have a general cardiologist in Ghana. We do not have. In Africa, I wouldn't be able to put a number to it, but I know Egypt and South Africa would have a few. Okay, but it's not great, to be honest. What is now happening in Europe is the general cardiologist, okay, will go further to have an interest in the area of sports and then do some of these studies, and then they are able to jump into the field of sports cardiology. But then it's not a field that has abundance of people in it, and in Africa it's quite scanty, and the reason why we decided to want to do this.
Yeah, great. But we want to delve into the specifics of the benefits to the ordinary Ghanaian or anybody watching across the
Right.
world, how is this study important now and to what extent?
So the practicality of the study is, now there's a concept we call exercise is medicine, and we are encouraging everybody to exercise. All right. Although the study wasn't centered on sedentary people, but it has revealed that as a black person or somebody from the African descent, when you put yourself through exercising, certain changes will happen to your heart. So one,
That will not happen to a white person.
exactly. Okay, the changes might happen to a white, but ours is exaggerated because of genetic predisposition. So one, before you go into wanting to exercise, everyone listening or watching us, you need, be you a player, I'm just talking about the general population, you need to first of all do screening. Now when you do this cardiovascular screen, instead with just a normal ECG, okay, then we'll be able to tell XYZ before you commence exercising. Then probably on yearly basis you just do it. So when we see, yes, you are putting on a bit of heart muscle, we know it's corresponding to the level of activity. If it gets to a point crossing into a red zone, then we are able to tell that it's no more an adaptation to sport, but rather what? Some sinister cardiovascular disease. All right. So we use, because we've had a lot of Ghanaian sedentary people. So I always tell people that people who are not footballers die of sudden cardiac arrest more than footballers. But it's just that when they die, all they will say is that, oh, nothing happened to him. He wasn't sick. He just died. But when the footballer dies, it's on a pitch, so we know that one becomes news. Okay, so that is for the general population to understand that there's a need to do pre-exercise medical screening, and then also to appreciate that there's adaptation to sport, certain dynamics will change. So my colleague general doctors will also have to appreciate this, so that when your client comes to you with a bit of enlarged heart, then you probably think that, okay, so this is a disease. No, you go further to investigate. Now when it comes to the sporting fraternity, we use ECG to do the screening. Basically in Ghana now, we don't go into echo, which is another level. The study revealed that if you use only ECG, a minimum of 23% of our sportsmen and women will have abnormal ECGs. So if I use only ECG to screen the players before the season, I'll ask 23% of them not to play. But then from the study, when we saw this outcome from just ECG, then we stepped ahead and did the echo, which is more like a heart scan. Then we realized that the 23% who had abnormal ECGs, when we did echo for them, that percentage dropped to anything around 2%. Okay, so you've been able to let go an extra about 21%. Then the 2%, you just observe them. Okay, so to our sporting fraternity, again, we need to pay attention to this. And then when we have to export players, I mean those in the business of buying players and selling players, this is a key point. So we expect that before you even do that, before you take them out there to do these medicals, you can do it locally. We can provide insight into everything, and then when you go there and you have challenges, you can always come back to us. But the final thing is that every club at any level should always make an input into their pre-season medical screening.
I'm sure that this is an important step, but do we have the logistics back home or even across Africa to be able to, deal with this? You have the research, but it needs some bit of support, especially in our facilities at club levels, to limit the impact or effect of these things that you've studied. Do we have the logistics available?
So, as a country, generally, of course, I don't think any club has a medical facility in Ghana. Okay, but all you need will be ECGs and echocardiography. This is readily available within the public space of our medical or our healthcare, and even private. We have them, so it's very much available. Clubs just have to be interested. In fact, those I did for some of the clubs, where we moved the ECG machines and echo. They are all portable machines. We do it at your premises. Now maybe you probably will be asking about cost. You know, when people talk about logistics, yes, it's one thing, the machine is available, expertise is available. I think if you want to do a very comprehensive medical assessment for your players, you are probably looking at anything between $70 to $100. So if I would just per player, so if I would want to just cap it, I mean, at $100, then you are looking at, I mean, if you have 30 players, all right, then you probably looking at, is it 3,000 to deal with, which I feel should not be a problem for anyone who is able to put together a football team. Because if you can't, at any level, if you can't raise 3,000 cedis to do pre-season medical assessment for a team, then I doubt if you'll be able to pay salaries. So this is a concept we need to get right. And so to our superiors in industry, or to our regulatory agencies, like, I mean, if you're a doctor, you need some level of expertise, you need some pain to be able to practice. So if somebody gets up putting together a team, there should be minimum requirement. Maybe you should look at a person's, I mean, club account to see if the person has enough money to do it. All right, so that is the cost aspect of it. So we have the machines. People should be able to raise the money to do it, and then people should have the desire. One of the things which has already happened from this study, so if you know Philips, so Philips is one of the manufacturers of some of these machines, ECG echo machines, you know, and my supervisor works, has relationship with Philips. Philips has contacted us already, okay, and they're happy to collaborate with Ghana to set up a cardiovascular screening center in Ghana. What do we have to do as a country? Make available space, okay, and then express interest in wanting to buy some equipment, and they would also support with a lot. I mean, I think gone are the days when such organizations would just come to you and say, okay, these are the machines, take that. They realize that when they do that to Africa, you come after a year and the machines are still sitting. But when we make that commitment, we create the space, we say, okay, we can host it here, we want to buy maybe first 2 machines, they are ready to support with all other logistics, including training of other people. Yeah.
Well, as footballers too, or sportsmen, it may get to that level. Nobody, I mean, is interested in seeing a footballer die. But what do you think are some of the measures or factors that can also limit this before you even get to the level of needing logistics and other support?
So I have always said that when it comes to the issues of health, okay, there's a personal responsibility attached to it. I'm sure you spend a lot of money, because I know you read. You spend a lot of money buying books. You spend a lot of money buying some of the gadgets you even use. I mean, there are media people who own their own cameras, their own headphones, their own everything, all right? As a doctor, I buy literally everything that I need to work with. So I feel as a footballer, your number one responsibility will be to your health. You buy your own boots, correct, all right? Before the season starts, we even advise every human being to do general medical checkup every year, okay? You don't even need to wait for the club to organize it. So first of all, you need to do your own, including your liver, your kidney, cholesterol level, everything, including all these ECGs. You do it for yourself. So once you do that as a player, you are equipping yourself. Then you also know there are certain habits that will predispose you to having heart diseases. You pull away from them. So first of all, you just have to eat healthy, okay? Avoid anything junk, your fruits, your vegetables, and number one, hydrating them. I mean, we all know Cristiano Ronaldo. The thing keeping the gentleman now in football is discipline and how he takes care of his body. Okay, so players just have to learn how to do that. Eat well, sleep well, all right, and then invest in yourself, and the sky will be your limit. And then you need to listen to your body. What we have realized with people who had sudden cardiac arrest, that we were able to revive, and I'm sure you've written something on this before, when you later speak, some are able to tell you that seconds before the arrest happens, they start feeling dizzy. On the pitch of play, they start feeling very uncomfortable, but the typical player will continue playing. All right, so what we tell people is that anytime you feel very different, you feel unwell, don't attempt wanting to play. Always speak to your team medics. All right, seek proper medical advice before you put your body through that stress of playing.
Yes, thank you very much. Extensive one. And I don't know if there are some, few bits you want to add, but if they are not, I'm sure that Ghanaians will appreciate this so much to have you coming from Ghana and doing something like this. I'm sure we are the primary beneficiaries of this, and definitely, go to a large extent the African continent. But if there are any persons or people that you think may have contributed in this that you missed?
I would want to thank the Ministry of Youth and Sports. I wouldn't be able to mention names because this study cut across from 2014 till now. So all the ministers who pulled through, all the chief directors, the National Sports Authority Director Generals gave space for us to do screening, the Ghana Football Association, because you can't have access to FIFA if you don't belong to an association. Okay, so the GFA, the key role they played, and of course the people at the Get Fund who supported this very well as well, and then the clubs and the players. They allowing you to take data from them, was a huge contribution. So I'm very grateful to all Ghanaians, and of course the media who I've always said will support a brand. And if you want to move forward in anything, be it industry, be it academia, you need a brand, and somebody has to purchase your brand, and somebody has to sell it. And fortunately, the media is selling our brand without cost, and I'm grateful to everyone.